The Secret of the Small House in Front of People's House. A sleep story from Thailand through eyes. Chapter 1. The tiny house nobody lived in. Before I came to Thailand, I thought spirit houses were built because people were afraid of ghosts. That was what I had heard growing up. Small, colorful houses standing outside homes, tiny temples placed beside office buildings, miniature shrines sitting beneath trees. Every travel article seemed to show them. Every photograph of Thailand seemed to include one somewhere in the background. And whenever someone explained them to me, the explanation was always simple. They are for spirits. That answer never made much sense to me. Back home in England, if someone built a small house in front of their real house and filled it with flowers, drinks, and candles every day, people would probably think it was strange. Yet in Thailand, nobody seemed surprised by it. It was completely normal. The spirit houses stood everywhere. Outside luxury hotels, beside busy shopping centers, next to tiny roadside restaurants, even outside modern glass office towers. The country seemed to move forward into the future while carrying thousands of tiny houses from another age. I assumed it was superstition, an old tradition people continued because their grandparents had done it, nothing more. At least that was what I believed, until the rainy season arrived, and until I met a woman named Molly. The evening had begun quietly. Rain drifted through the streets of Chiang Mai like silver threads. Motorcycles moved carefully across wet roads. Street vendors pulled plastic covers over their food stalls. The smell of grilled pork floated through the damp air. Somewhere nearby, a dog barked once before settling beneath a wooden porch. I sat inside a small cafe near the Ping River. The wooden floor creaked softly whenever someone walked across it. Warm yellow lights reflected against rain-covered windows. A slow Thai instrumental song played from hidden speakers. Everything felt peaceful, the kind of peacefulness that only arrives during tropical rain. I opened my notebook. As a travel writer, I often spent evenings recording observations from the day, new places, new conversations, small details I did not want to forget. That evening, my attention kept returning to a small structure standing outside the cafe, a spirit house. It was painted gold and red. Tiny elephant statues stood near its steps. Fresh marigolds hung from miniature columns. A small glass of orange soda sat carefully beside a bowl of rice. Someone had clearly placed them there recently. The rain had not touched them. I stared through the window, trying to understand, trying to see what everyone else seemed to understand naturally. The cafe owner noticed. She smiled. "You are looking at the spirit house." I turned. The woman stood beside my table carrying a tray of tea. She appeared to be in her early 60s, gentle eyes, silver hair tied neatly behind her head, a smile that somehow felt both welcoming and familiar. "Is it that obvious?" I asked. She laughed softly. "Foreigners always look at the spirit house." I smiled. Guilty. She placed the tea on the table. "My name is Molly. James." She nodded. Then she looked toward the small shrine outside. "You are wondering why it is there." "A little." "A little?" I laughed. "Actually, a lot." The rain tapped gently against the windows. Molly pulled out a chair and sat down. For a moment, she simply watched the rain, as though deciding where the story should begin. Finally, she spoke. "When foreigners see a spirit house, they often think it is about fear." I nodded. That was exactly my assumption. She smiled. "Most people think that. So it isn't?" "No." The answer came immediately, without hesitation, without uncertainty, just a simple no. And somehow that surprised me, because she sounded so certain. "So what is it about?" I asked. Molly folded her hands around a cup of tea. For several seconds, she watched steam rise from its surface. Then she said something unexpected. "It is about being a good neighbor." I blinked. "A good neighbor?" She nodded. Outside, rain continued falling softly across the dark street. Tiny reflections danced on the wet pavement. The city seemed quieter now, as though listening. "When a building is constructed," Molly explained, "people believe the land already belongs to something." The land? Nature, spirits, memory, energy. Different people explain it differently. I leaned forward. Interested now, very interested. When we build a house, she continued, we change the place. Of course. We cut trees, we move soil, we make noise, we create our own space. I nodded. That seemed reasonable. Then she smiled. So the spirit house is a way of saying thank you. The answer lingered between us. Simple, gentle, unexpected, not fear, gratitude. I had never heard anyone describe it that way before. Outside, a motorcycle passed slowly through the rain. Its headlights shimmered across puddles. The smell of jasmine drifted through the open doorway. Molly continued. It is not about driving something away. It is about sharing space. I looked toward the tiny house again. For the first time, it appeared different, not mysterious, not frightening, just respectful, like a gesture, like leaving a chair for a guest or setting an extra plate at dinner. Something changed in my understanding, only slightly, but enough. Enough to make me realize I had probably misunderstood spirit houses my entire life. And strangely enough, that realization felt comforting. Not because I suddenly understood Thailand. I didn't, not even close. But because I had discovered there was more to understand, and Thailand often seemed to reveal itself that way. Slowly, patiently, one misconception at a time. Molly stood. Customers had begun arriving. The evening rush. A young couple entered carrying umbrellas. An elderly man ordered coffee. Someone laughed quietly near the counter. The cafe became alive again. Before leaving, Molly paused beside my table. If you are curious, she said, come tomorrow morning. Why? She smiled. You will see. What will I see? The real reason people care for spirit houses. Then she walked away, leaving me with more questions than answers. Outside, the tiny spirit house glowed softly beneath the rain. Its golden roof reflected the warm lights of the cafe. The flowers remained fresh. The orange soda remained untouched. The miniature elephants stood silently at attention, waiting. And for the first time since arriving in Thailand, I found myself wondering not what people feared, but what they were trying to remember. The rain continued long into the night, and somewhere beyond the river, a deeper story was waiting to be told. Chapter 2. The woman who brought fresh jasmine every morning. The next morning, I woke before sunrise. The rain from the previous evening had disappeared. Chiang Mai felt fresh. The air carried the scent of wet earth and flowering trees. Somewhere outside my guest house, birds were already beginning their morning songs. A rooster crowed in the distance. The city was waking slowly, not with the urgency of a large capital city, but with a calm rhythm that felt older, gentler. I remembered Molly's invitation, come tomorrow morning, and so, shortly after 6 o'clock, I found myself walking through quiet streets toward the cafe. The sky above Chiang Mai glowed pale blue. Soft golden light touched temple roofs. Street vendors were beginning to arrange fruit on wooden tables. A monk in saffron robes walked silently down the sidewalk, carrying his alms bowl. People greeted him respectfully. Some bowed slightly. Others offered food. Nobody appeared rushed. The morning felt peaceful, almost sacred. When I reached the cafe, it was still closed. The lights inside remained off. Metal chairs sat upside down on tables. The street was nearly empty. At first, I wondered if I had arrived too early. Then I noticed someone standing near the spirit house. An elderly woman. She wore a simple white blouse and dark blue skirt. Her silver hair was tied neatly behind her head. In her hands, she carried a small basket. She moved slowly, carefully, almost ceremonially. I stood across the street watching, not wanting to interrupt. The woman removed yesterday's flowers. She cleaned the small platform. Then she placed fresh jasmine garlands beside the tiny house. After that, she replaced the glass of orange soda. She arranged everything with quiet attention, not hurried, not mechanical. Every movement seemed deliberate, thoughtful. Finally, she stepped back, pressed her palms together, closed her eyes briefly, then smiled. A genuine smile, not the smile of obligation, the smile of someone greeting an old friend. When she turned, she noticed me watching. For a moment, I felt embarrassed, like I had accidentally witnessed something private. but she simply smiled. Good morning. Good morning. You are not from Thailand. The statement carried no judgment, only observation. I laughed softly. Is it that obvious? She nodded. Very obvious. I crossed the street. The morning sun was beginning to rise above the buildings. Golden light touched the roof of the spirit house. Tiny shadows stretched across the pavement. The woman looked toward the shrine. You are curious. Very. She smiled. Most visitors are. I hesitated, then asked the question that had been sitting in my mind since the previous evening. Do you believe spirits actually live there? The woman thought for a moment, long enough that I realized she was choosing her answer carefully. Then she surprised me. That depends on what you mean by spirit. I smiled. It was not the straightforward answer I expected. My name is James, I said. Anong. We shook hands. Then she gestured toward a nearby bench beneath a flowering tree. We sat together. The city continued waking around us. Bicycles rolled past. Food carts appeared. The aroma of grilled pork and sticky rice drifted through the air. Temple bells echoed faintly in the distance. Everything felt calm, almost dreamlike. Anong looked toward the spirit house. When I was young, she began, I thought exactly as you do. You did? She nodded. I thought the spirit house was simply a place where invisible beings lived. And now? She smiled. Now I think it is more complicated. A gentle breeze carried the fragrance of jasmine through the morning air. Anong continued. When people ask if spirits are real, they usually imagine ghosts. That's true, but Thailand has many ways of understanding spirits. I listened carefully. Some people believe in guardian spirits. Some believe in the spirit of a place. Some think of ancestors. Others think of energy. Others think of memory. She paused, then pointed toward the large tree above us. Let me ask you something. I nodded. If that tree could remember everything it had witnessed, would it feel alive to you? I looked at the tree. Its branches stretched across the street. Its roots disappeared beneath the ground. Hundreds of birds lived among its leaves. Children probably played beneath it every day. Generations of people had likely passed by. I suppose it would. She smiled. Many Thai people feel something similar about places. The answer settled gently into my thoughts. Not as a lesson, but as a possibility. A different way of seeing the world. Anong reached into her basket. Inside were extra jasmine flowers. She handed one to me. The scent was delicate, fresh, almost impossibly sweet. When foreigners hear about spirit houses, she said, they often focus on the supernatural. I laughed. Guilty again. She laughed too. But many Thai people focus on something else. What? Relationship. I frowned slightly. Relationship? With nature. With the land. With memory. With gratitude. She pointed toward the spirit house once more. That little house reminds us we are not the center of everything. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The city continued its quiet morning routine around us. A delivery truck passed slowly. A dog stretched lazily beneath a parked motorcycle. Someone swept leaves from a shop entrance. Life moved gently forward. Anong's words remained in my mind. We are not the center of everything. Back home, I realized many of our buildings existed solely for human convenience, human comfort, human ownership. We rarely considered what had existed before. The forest, the river, the animals, the history, the countless unseen layers beneath the ground. But here was a tradition quietly acknowledging that something existed before us, and perhaps would continue after us. That idea felt strangely beautiful. Anong stood. Come. Where are we going? Breakfast. I laughed. That sounds good. Together, we walked toward a small food stall nearby. The owner greeted Anong warmly. Clearly, they knew each other well. Within minutes, we sat eating steaming bowls of rice porridge. The morning sun continued climbing higher. Chiang Mai was fully awake now. Scooters buzzed through the streets. Shopkeepers opened their doors. School children walked in small groups wearing uniforms. Life flowed around us. And as we ate, I noticed something. Almost every building had a spirit house. Some were large, some tiny, some decorated with flowers, others simple and modest, but they were everywhere, not hidden, not treated as strange, simply part of everyday life, as natural as trees, or mailboxes, or front doors. I pointed toward one outside a nearby bank. Does everyone care for theirs? Anong smiled. Not everyone, but many do. Why? She looked thoughtful, then answered softly. Because caring for something changes the person who cares. The answer surprised me. Again, everything about spirit houses seemed different from what I had expected. I had imagined fear. Instead, I kept hearing words like gratitude, respect, relationship, care. The themes felt entirely different. The more I listened, the less mysterious the spirit houses became, and somehow, the more meaningful they appeared. After breakfast, we returned to the cafe. Molly had arrived. She stood outside arranging tables. When she saw us, she smiled knowingly. You came. I did. And I looked toward the spirit house. Fresh jasmine flowers rested beside tiny elephant statues. Morning sunlight illuminated its golden roof. For the first time, I felt as though I was seeing it clearly. Not as an object, not as a superstition, but as a story. A story people told every day through small acts of care. I think I understand a little more now, I said. Molly smiled. Only a little? Only a little. She laughed. Good. Why good? Because Thailand always rewards curiosity. The three of us stood quietly for a moment, listening to the sounds of the city. The rustling leaves, the distant temple bells, the laughter of school children, the hum of scooters, the beginning of another ordinary day. And yet something inside me had shifted, just slightly. The spirit house no longer seemed mysterious, but its deeper meaning still remained hidden, like the first page of a book I had only just begun reading. And neither Molly nor Anong appeared surprised by that. In fact, they seemed to expect it, as though they knew the real story had not yet begun, as though somewhere beyond flowers and offerings and tiny golden houses, a much older secret was waiting. A secret that had survived generations. A secret connected not merely to spirits, but to the way Thailand understood the world itself. And before I left that morning, Molly said something that would stay with me for years. Tomorrow, she said quietly, I will introduce you to someone who can explain where the spirit houses truly come from. Who? She smiled. An old monk. The breeze carried the scent of jasmine through the morning air. Temple bells echoed once more across the city, and somewhere beyond the ancient walls of Chiang Mai, the next chapter of the story was waiting. Chapter 3. The Old Monk and the Land Spirits. The following morning arrived wrapped in mist. Not the thick fog that hides mountains completely, but a soft silver veil drifting through the quiet streets of Chiang Mai. The city seemed slower than usual, gentler, as if it had not fully awakened from a pleasant dream. I left my guest house shortly after sunrise. The air felt cool against my skin. Drops of water still clung to leaves and flower petals from the previous night's rain. The scent of wet earth drifted through the morning. Somewhere nearby, a temple bell rang. A deep, calm sound. One note, then silence, then another. The sound lingered in the air long after it faded. I found Molly waiting outside the cafe. She wore a simple linen shirt and carried a small basket filled with fruit. Mangoes, bananas, a few lotus flowers. When she saw me, she smiled. You are on time. I didn't want to keep the monk waiting. She laughed softly. That is wise. Together, we walked through narrow streets toward one of the older temples on the edge of the city. As we moved farther from the center, the traffic faded. Scooters became less frequent. The noise of shops disappeared. Soon, the only sounds were birds and the occasional rustle of leaves overhead. The temple appeared gradually through the trees. Its golden roof caught the early sunlight. Its walls seemed almost to glow. Ancient stone guardians stood near the entrance, weathered by time, patient. Still, the moment we stepped inside the temple grounds, the atmosphere changed. Everything felt quieter, not silent, but peaceful. The kind of peace that settles naturally over a place after centuries of prayer. Molly led me toward a shaded courtyard. Several large trees stood nearby. their branches stretched across the sky like protective arms. Beneath one of them sat an elderly monk. He appeared to be well into his 80s, perhaps older. His saffron robe hung loosely from thin shoulders. His face carried countless lines, yet his eyes were bright, clear, alive. They reminded me of someone who has spent a lifetime watching the world carefully. Molly approached respectfully. The monk smiled when he saw her. They exchanged greetings in Thai. Then Molly turned toward me. "This is Luangpur Chai." I bowed slightly. The monk nodded. "Welcome." His English was slow but surprisingly clear. We sat together beneath the tree. A breeze moved gently through the leaves above us. Birds hopped across the temple courtyard. Somewhere in the distance, monks were sweeping fallen leaves. The sound of straw brooms against stone created a soft rhythm. For several moments, nobody spoke. The old monk simply looked at me, not in a way that felt uncomfortable. Rather, it felt as though he was patiently waiting for my question. Eventually, I smiled. "I've been trying to understand spirit houses." His eyes brightened. "Ah," the single word carried amusement, as though he had heard that question many times before. "Many visitors ask this." "I imagine they do." The monk nodded. "Most foreigners think spirit houses are about ghosts." I laughed. "That's exactly what I thought." He smiled. "Most people do." The morning breeze continued drifting through the temple grounds. A few yellow leaves floated gently to the ground. The monk watched them for a moment before speaking again. "Tell me." I nodded. "When you move into a new home, what do you do first?" I thought for a moment. "Unpack. Arrange furniture. Meet neighbors, perhaps." The monk smiled. "Good." Then he pointed toward the earth beneath us. What if the land already had neighbors? The question surprised me. I remained silent. The monk continued. "Long before there were cities, roads, hotels, or office buildings, people lived close to nature." His voice remained calm, gentle, like someone telling a bedtime story. They saw rivers. They saw forests. They saw mountains. They understood that human beings were only one part of a much larger world. The leaves above us rustled softly. Ancient people believed every place had its own spirit. The spirit of a tree, the spirit of a river, the spirit of a mountain, the spirit of the land itself. I listened carefully, not because I necessarily believed it literally, but because I wanted to understand how people viewed the world. The monk seemed to sense this. "You do not have to believe exactly as they believed." I smiled. "I'm glad." He laughed quietly. "Understanding is more important than agreement." I liked that answer. "Very much." The monk continued. "When people built homes, they felt a responsibility. A responsibility to acknowledge what was already there." He pointed toward the temple grounds, not because they feared punishment, because they valued harmony. The word lingered. Harmony. It seemed to appear again and again whenever people explained Thai culture. Harmony with family, harmony with community, harmony with nature. The monk nodded slowly. As centuries passed, spirit houses became one way of expressing that idea. Molly listened quietly beside us. The morning sunlight filtered through the leaves. Tiny patterns danced across the ground. The entire scene felt peaceful, timeless. The monk folded his hands in his lap. "People often misunderstand traditions." I nodded. "How so?" He smiled. "They see the action, but not the meaning." I thought about that. How often had I done exactly that? Seen flowers placed before a spirit house, seen food offerings, seen tiny shrines, and immediately assumed I understood, without asking why, without listening. The monk seemed to read my thoughts. Many traditions survive because they teach something valuable. What does the spirit house teach? He smiled, then answered immediately. Humility. The answer caught me off guard. Not fear, not superstition. Humility. Again, a completely different idea from the one I had carried for years. The monk continued. The spirit house reminds us that the world does not belong entirely to us. His eyes moved toward the large tree above us. We share it. The breeze strengthened briefly. Leaves swayed overhead. Birds took flight. For a moment, everything seemed connected. The tree, the temple, the earth, the people, the stories. The monk looked back toward me. Modern life teaches ownership. This is my house, my land, my building, my property. He smiled softly. But older wisdom teaches stewardship. I repeated the word quietly. Stewardship. The monk nodded. We care for things. We do not truly own them. The statement settled deeply inside me. I found myself thinking about cities, about development, about how easily people reshaped landscapes, how rarely we pause to consider what existed before. The monk reached down and picked up a fallen leaf. He held it carefully. When this leaf falls, does the tree complain? I smiled. No. When the tree grows new leaves, does it celebrate? No. The monk laughed softly. The tree simply participates in life. He released the leaf. The wind carried it away. Humans often forget they are participants, not masters. For several minutes, we sat quietly. No one felt the need to fill the silence. The temple seemed designed for moments like this, moments when thoughts could settle naturally, without pressure, without interruption. Eventually, I asked another question. Do younger people still believe in spirit houses? The monk smiled. Some do, some don't, but many still respect them. Why? Because traditions are not always about belief. That answer surprised me. Again, the monk continued. They are also about identity, memory, connection. He pointed toward the temple buildings. Do you think every person who visits a temple believes exactly the same thing? Probably not. He nodded. Yet they come. Why? I thought about it, then answered. Because it connects them to something larger. The monk smiled. Exactly. For a moment, his eyes seemed particularly bright, as though I had finally touched a small part of the answer. The morning sun continued rising. Golden light spread across the courtyard. Monks moved quietly between buildings. Birdsong filled the air. The world felt calm, balanced. The monk looked toward the horizon, then said something I would never forget. Spirit houses are not really about spirits. I blinked. The statement felt almost shocking coming from him. What are they about then? His smile deepened. They are about remembering. Remembering what? He looked around the temple. The trees, the earth, the sky, the people, everything. That we belong to a world that existed before us and will continue after us. Silence followed. Not awkward silence. Meaningful silence. The kind that arrives when words have already done their work. At that moment, I realized something. The secret of the spirit house was not hidden inside the tiny structure itself. The secret was hidden inside the way people related to the world around them. The spirit house was merely a reminder, a symbol, a daily act of gratitude, a small gesture of respect. And suddenly, it felt much larger than I had imagined. Much deeper, much more human. As the morning drew to a close, the monk stood slowly. Molly helped him. Before leaving, he placed a hand gently on my shoulder. Then he spoke one final sentence. A sentence that would lead me toward the deepest misunderstanding of all. The biggest mistake foreigners make, he said softly, is thinking spirit houses are about religion. I frowned. If they're not about religion, what are they about? The monk smiled. A mysterious smile. The kind of smile that suggested another story waited ahead. A question for tomorrow. Then he turned and walked slowly toward the temple buildings. His saffron robe disappeared into the golden morning light, and I sat beneath the ancient tree, wondering what he meant. Because if spirit houses were not really about ghosts, and not entirely about religion, then perhaps I had only just begun uncovering their true secret. Chapter 4. What foreigners often misunderstand. That afternoon, rain returned to Chiang Mai. Not a violent storm. Not the kind that sends people running for shelter. This was the gentle rain Thailand seems to know so well. A patient rain. A rain that falls steadily for hours, turning streets silver and filling the air with the scent of wet leaves and earth. I spent most of the day thinking about Luang Por Chai's final words. The biggest mistake foreigners make is thinking spirit houses are about religion. The sentence lingered in my mind. At first, it seemed strange. After all, spirit houses often stood beside temples. Monks sometimes participated in ceremonies connected to them. Many visitors naturally assumed they were part of Buddhism. That certainly had been my assumption. Yet the monk had spoken with complete confidence, as if the truth were much more complicated. By early evening, I found myself back at Molly's cafe. Rain tapped softly against the roof. A warm yellow glow filled the room. The smell of fresh coffee drifted through the air. Outside, the spirit house stood quietly beneath the rain. Its tiny golden roof reflected the streetlights. The jasmine flowers remained fresh despite the weather. Molly was preparing tea when I arrived. She smiled when she saw me. "You look thoughtful." I blamed the monk. She laughed. "Good. I've spent all day thinking about what he said." She nodded. "And?" "I still don't understand." "Which part?" "The part about religion." Molly carried 2 cups of tea to a table near the window. We sat together while rain continued falling outside. For a moment, she watched the spirit house. Then she smiled. "Perhaps I should tell you a story." I was beginning to notice that in Thailand, answers often arrived inside stories. And somehow, that made them easier to understand. "I'm listening." Molly wrapped both hands around her cup. "When I was a little girl, my grandmother lived in a wooden house outside Chiang Mai." Her voice softened, as though she were looking backward through time. The house stood beside rice fields. There were mango trees, banana trees, a small pond, and of course, a spirit house. I smiled. "Of course." She laughed. One day, I asked my grandmother why we had it. "What did she say?" Molly's smile deepened. She asked me a question. Naturally, another question. I was beginning to understand the rhythm. "What was it?" she asked. "When a guest comes to your house, what do you do?" I thought for a moment. "You welcome them." "Exactly." Molly nodded. Then she asked, "If you are a guest in someone else's home, what do you do?" "Show respect." "Exactly." The rain continued softly outside. A motorcycle passed through the street, leaving shimmering reflections behind. Molly took a sip of tea. "My grandmother said the world works the same way." I listened carefully. "Human beings often behave as though we own everything. The land, the rivers, the forests, the animals." She shook her head gently. "But older generations often viewed things differently." Her eyes moved toward the spirit house. They saw themselves as guests. The sentence landed quietly, yet it carried tremendous weight. Guests, not owners, not rulers, guests. Suddenly, Luangpur Chai's words made more sense. The spirit house was not merely about religion. It reflected an entire worldview, a way of understanding humanity's place in the world. Molly seemed to notice the realization crossing my face. "Now you begin to see." I nodded slowly. "I think so." The rain strengthened slightly. Water streamed from rooftops. The city lights blurred behind the wet glass. Everything felt soft, dreamlike. Molly continued. "Foreign visitors often ask whether spirit houses are Buddhist. Aren't they?" She smiled. "The answer is yes and no." I laughed. That seemed to be a very Thai answer. "How can it be both?" "Because Thailand is a mixture." She gestured around the room. "A mixture of cultures, a mixture of beliefs, a mixture of history." The cafe had become quieter. Most customers had left. Only a few remained. Their conversations blended softly with the sound of rain. Molly continued. "Long before Buddhism arrived in Thailand, people already believed that nature contained unseen forces. The spirit of rivers, the spirit of forests, the spirit of places." I remembered Luangpur Chai describing something similar. Molly nodded. Later, Buddhism arrived. Then Hindu influences arrived. Then local traditions continued. She smiled. And over many centuries, everything blended together. I found that fascinating. Not because it was unusual, but because it felt so human. Cultures rarely remain pure or separate. They meet, they influence one another. They grow together, like rivers joining. Molly pointed toward the spirit house outside. "So when people ask whether spirit houses are Buddhist," she shrugged gently. "The answer is not simple. They belong to Thailand." That answer somehow felt perfect. The rain softened again. The city seemed wrapped in a gentle hush. I watched the tiny spirit house through the window. A small, structured, simple, yet connected to centuries of history, generations of stories, layers of belief. The more I learned, the less simplistic my original assumptions appeared. I had reduced something complex into a stereotype, a common human habit. And perhaps that was the real lesson, not only about spirit houses, but about cultures, about countries, about people. We often assume we understand something after seeing it briefly. We label it, simplify it, place it inside a familiar category, then stop asking questions. Thailand seemed determined to challenge that habit, again and again. Molly leaned back in her chair, then smiled. Can I tell you another misunderstanding? Please. Many foreigners think spirit houses are old-fashioned. I laughed. I might have thought that too. She nodded. Yet look around. I followed her gaze. Outside stood modern hotels, banks, shopping centers, apartment towers, new businesses, new technology, new generations. And beside many of them stood spirit houses. The contrast fascinated me. Ancient tradition, modern life, existing side by side, not competing, not replacing one another, simply coexisting. Molly smiled. Thailand does not always choose between old and new. The statement felt true, very true. During my time in the country, I had seen monks using smartphones, street vendors accepting digital payments, ancient temples standing beside luxury malls. The future and the past seemed comfortable together. Perhaps spirit houses represented the same balance. A reminder that progress did not require forgetting. Outside, a young woman carrying an umbrella stopped briefly beside the spirit house. She adjusted one of the flower garlands, then continued walking. The action lasted only seconds, yet it felt meaningful. A small act of care, a tiny moment of connection. Nothing dramatic, nothing extraordinary, just a quiet reminder. The sort of thing I might once have overlooked completely. Molly noticed me watching. Now what do you see? I thought carefully before answering. The rain whispered against the windows. The scent of jasmine drifted through the air. The spirit house stood beneath the streetlights. Peaceful, still, no longer mysterious. Not in the way I had imagined. I see gratitude, I said. Molly smiled. What else? I see respect. She nodded. What else? I looked again. Then something unexpected came to mind. I see memory. Her smile widened. Yes, the word felt right. Memory. The spirit house carried memories of older generations, older values, older relationships with the land. A reminder that modern life did not begin yesterday, that people before us had also searched for meaning, for balance, for harmony, for ways to live respectfully within the world. The rain finally began to slow. Drops fell less frequently. The city lights became clearer. Night settled comfortably over Chiang Mai. Before leaving, Molly stood beside the window. For a long moment, she looked toward the spirit house. Then she spoke quietly. There is one final thing you still do not understand. I laughed. Only one? She laughed too. For tonight, only one. What is it? Her expression softened. The most important part. I waited. Outside, the rain had almost stopped completely. The streets glistened beneath the lamps. The tiny spirit house seemed to glow in the darkness. Molly looked toward it, then back toward me, and spoke softly. Spirit houses are not really about spirits. I smiled. I've heard that before. Yes, she nodded. But tomorrow you will finally understand why. The cafe grew quiet. The last customers left. The night deepened. And somewhere beyond the sleeping city, the final piece of the puzzle waited. A secret hidden not inside the spirit house itself, but inside the hearts of the people who cared for it. A secret that explained why such tiny houses continued to survive in a rapidly changing world. A secret that had very little to do with ghosts, and everything to do with being human. Chapter 5. The night I finally understood Thailand. That night, the rain returned one final time. Not heavy, not dramatic, just a gentle curtain of water drifting through the warm darkness of Chiang Mai. The city seemed quieter than usual. as though the world itself had decided to slow down. Streetlights reflected on wet pavement. Motorcycles moved carefully through the narrow roads. Somewhere in the distance, temple bells echoed softly through the night air. I sat alone outside Molly's café after closing time. The chairs had been stacked. The lights inside had been dimmed. Only a small lamp near the entrance remained glowing, and beside it stood the spirit house, still, silent, patient. For 3 days I had been trying to understand it. I had spoken with Molly, with Anong, with Luang Por Chai. Each had offered a different piece of the puzzle, and yet none of them had given me a direct answer. Not completely. Instead, they had guided me. One story at a time, one question at a time. Very much the Thai way, I was beginning to realize. The night air smelled of wet earth and jasmine. A soft breeze moved through the trees overhead. Everything felt peaceful. Then the cafe door opened. Molly stepped outside, carrying 2 cups of tea. Without speaking, she handed one to me. I accepted it gratefully. For several minutes, we sat quietly, listening to the rain, watching the spirit house. Neither of us seemed in a hurry to speak. Finally, I broke the silence. You said there was one last thing I didn't understand. Molly smiled. Yes, and tonight you're finally going to tell me? She laughed softly. I think so. The rain whispered gently against nearby rooftops. Water dripped from leaves. The city seemed wrapped in a blanket of sound. Molly looked toward the spirit house, then asked a question, the final question. During the past few days, what have you learned? I thought carefully. There were many answers, too many, but I tried to find the most important ones. I learned that spirit houses aren't really about fear. She nodded. What else? They're about gratitude. She smiled. What else? They remind people to respect the land. Another nod. What else? I paused, then answered quietly. They remind people that we are not the center of everything. Molly's smile widened. Good. The rain continued softly around us. The tiny spirit house glowed beneath the lamplight. Its fresh jasmine garlands moved gently in the breeze. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Molly leaned forward and finally revealed the secret. The spirit house is not important. I blinked. What? She laughed at my expression. The house itself is not the important part. I stared at her. After 3 days of conversations, stories, and questions, this was not the answer I expected. Molly pointed toward the tiny structure. The wood is not important. The paint is not important. The decorations are not important. Even the offerings are not the most important part. I frowned. Then what is? She looked at me carefully and answered with remarkable simplicity. The remembering. The words settled gently into the night. Remembering. I thought back to everything I had learned. The stories, the flowers, the rituals, the respect, the gratitude, the harmony. Suddenly, everything connected. The spirit house existed to remind people, to remind them that life was shared, that places mattered, that gratitude mattered, that respect mattered, that humility mattered. The structure itself was only a symbol, a daily reminder, a small pause in the middle of modern life, a moment to remember values that could easily be forgotten. Molly seemed to sense the realization taking shape inside me. People need reminders. I nodded slowly. Yes, we all do. The rain softened even further, almost disappearing. The city lights shimmered quietly across the wet streets. Molly continued. Think about how many things compete for our attention every day. Work, money, schedules, phones, deadlines. I laughed softly. Quite a lot. She smiled. The spirit house interrupts that. For the first time, I understood. Every flower placed there, every fresh garland, every small offering, every brief prayer was not necessarily about feeding spirits. It was about feeding awareness. A reminder to pause, to reflect, to acknowledge, to appreciate. The realization felt surprisingly emotional. Not because it was mystical, but because it was human, deeply human. The rain finally stopped. Silence settled over the street. Only the distant sounds of Chiang Mai remained. A barking dog, a passing scooter, the faint ringing of a temple bell somewhere in the darkness. Molly looked toward the sky. Clouds were beginning to part. Stars appeared between them, one by one, quietly, patiently. Then she spoke again. When foreigners first come to Thailand, they often see spirit houses everywhere. I smiled. I certainly did. And many think they understand them immediately. I laughed. I certainly did that too. She nodded knowingly. But Thailand often works differently. The night breeze carried the scent of jasmine once more. Molly continued, things here are often deeper than they appear. I thought about that. Not only spirit houses, but smiles, temples, markets, family traditions, conversations. Many aspects of Thailand reveal themselves slowly, patiently, like stories unfolding chapter by chapter. The country rarely forced itself upon visitors. Instead, it waited for curiosity, for attention, for openness. Only then did deeper meanings begin to appear. I looked toward the spirit house one final time. The tiny structure seemed almost insignificant now, and yet somehow more meaningful than ever. Not because I believed exactly what others believed, but because I finally understood what it represented. Respect, gratitude, humility, connection, memory, values that transcended culture, values that existed everywhere. The spirit house simply gave them a visible form. Molly finished her tea, then smiled. So? What do you think now? I looked at the tiny golden house, at the jasmine flowers, at the quiet street, at the rain-washed city around us. Then I answered honestly. Before I came to Thailand, I thought spirit houses existed because people were afraid. Molly listened. Now I smiled. But now I think they exist because people don't want to forget. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Molly nodded, slowly, gently, as though confirming something important. Exactly. The answer felt complete, not because every question had been answered, but because the right question had finally been understood. Outside, the clouds continued drifting apart. Moonlight touched the wet pavement. The city seemed peaceful, comfortable, at rest. And as I sat there beside the tiny spirit house, I realized something else. The secret of the spirit house was also the secret of Thailand. Not the Thailand of postcards. Not the Thailand of travel brochures. Not the Thailand reduced to beaches, temples, or street food, but the deeper Thailand, the Thailand hidden inside everyday gestures. Small kindnesses, quiet respect, unspoken gratitude. The Thailand that revealed itself slowly to those willing to look beyond first impressions. The Thailand that could never be fully understood in a single visit, or a single conversation, or a single story, only experienced, little by little. Like rain falling softly through the night, the clock above the cafe struck 10. The city grew even quieter. Molly stood. It is late. It is. She smiled. Time to sleep. I laughed. Probably. Before going inside, she paused beside the spirit house. For a brief moment, she adjusted one of the jasmine garlands. A simple gesture, one she had likely performed hundreds of times before. Then she looked back at me. Good night, James. Good night, Molly. The cafe door closed softly behind her. I remained outside a little longer, listening, thinking, remembering. The spirit house stood silently beneath the moonlight. No longer mysterious, no longer strange, just a reminder, a gentle reminder, and perhaps that was enough. Eventually, I stood and began walking back toward my guest house. The streets were nearly empty. The rain had washed everything clean. The air felt cool and fresh. Behind me, the tiny spirit house continued glowing softly in the darkness. A small light, a small memory, a small lesson, one that would travel home with me across oceans and continents, and one that I suspect I would carry for the rest of my life, because sometimes the most important truths arrive quietly, hidden inside ordinary things. A flower, a smile, a cup of tea, or a tiny house that nobody lives in. And somewhere tonight, beneath the warm skies of Thailand, spirit houses continue standing beside homes, shops, offices, hotels, and temples. Not merely as homes for spirits, but as reminders to be grateful, to be humble, to be respectful, to remember. And perhaps that is the real secret of the spirit house. The end. Cultural discoveries from this story. Spirit houses are often misunderstood as symbols of fear, but many Thai people see them as symbols of gratitude and respect. The tradition blends influences from ancient local beliefs, Buddhism, and cultural history. Spirit houses serve as daily reminders of harmony with nature, humility, memory, and community, rather than simply places for spirits. Thailand still holds countless stories waiting to be discovered. If you would like to continue this journey together, I hope to see you again in the next story from Thailand through eyes. And if there is somewhere in Thailand you wish to visit through story, leave your suggestion below. Perhaps our next journey will begin there.